Hello everyone. Today I'm here with my fiance John, who occasionally appears in my videos. And we're here for a bit of a special reason today. For anyone who's been following me recently, you know that I've been on a bit of a content break for my mental health. I've had a rough few months and I was in a crisis care center recently. And John has more experience than pretty much anyone in my life with caring for me through hospitalizations. In the time that we've been together, I've had 4 hospitalizations and this most recent crisis care stay. And John's here to talk with everyone about what it's like being on the other side of hospitalizations as a caregiver and partner. So, John, what has this been like for you?
Don't even know where to start. It can be tricky. Early on, it was really scary. Not really sure what to do. Kind of hyper aware of any changes in behavior, changes in dress, right? Changes in fixations, like what you're interested in reading or watching, things like that, just looking for any sort of sign that your mental state is shifting someplace it shouldn't. And then early not having any experience with what was safe and what wasn't, and what normal sort of kookiness looked like and what like signs of mental illness looked like at first. The first hospitalization, I don't know that I was worried about your behavior up till then, but when you mentioned you needed to go to the hospital, I got really scared. Yeah, because you got back from Chicago and you were really weird, but that was long before your first hospitalization, wasn't it?
It creeps on very slowly.
So no, there was a lot that I was worried about up to that first hospitalization, but the first one I didn't quite want to accept, and then I was scared, and then you were going away, and I started being more vigilant about like making sure you were taking your meds, knowing what doses you took, because when you went in and they adjusted your meds, they adjusted you to the same dose you were already on because you misreported what you were taking because you weren't sure.
Yeah.
So then I realized, I need to pay attention to this kind of stuff. I have to kind of be the adult, for lack of a better phrasing.
Well, this was really early in our relationship. It's like you couldn't have seen this coming. You didn't really even know me well enough to know like what I was like in a psychiatric emergency, or when I'm unhinged like that and I can't take care of myself. I mean, you probably didn't even know that you'd need to take care of me that way.
Well, right, and like I said, it's like what facets of your personality should have been warning signs and what was just you. There was lots of juggling things around. Lots of making sure you weren't walking into conversations that were going to be triggering for you, because you would just start talking about things that wouldn't necessarily be triggering, but would obviously lead to triggering conversations. Making sure you were eating, like I said, keeping account on your meds to make sure not necessarily that you were taking them, but that you'd get refills on time. It's just a lot of worry and fear and stress. It got easier over time. The hospitalizations became less scary. And we've gotten to a place, because early on you wouldn't be honest about what was going on. I'd have to check in on you multiple times a day. And it was always kind of scary when I'd have to ask the questions, because I was always worried I was going to get, like, another trip to the hospital seemed scary to me at the time, and now looking at it, it's like, that's silly. You know what I mean? Because it hasn't gotten so bad that you've completely lost touch,
I've never been involuntarily hospitalized while we've been together. It's always been voluntary, because I think the first time I had insight, I was going psychotic, but I had insight and I knew I was having delusions. And pretty much as soon as I started hallucinating, I was like, okay, gotta go nip this in the bud. To me, I was so used to hospitalizations at this point that it was kind of like, it was just basic to me. It was cray vacay is what I like to call it. Like, it's so casual to me at this point that I don't even tell my family anymore, because they always make a big deal out of it. To me, it's not a big deal. For someone who's never had to go through that before, though, I can see it was probably a really big deal to you, though.
It was up front, like I said, but now even the other day you were hearing music that wasn't there, and all I did is I just asked, like, is this something that's going to resolve on its own? You said yep. I was like, okay, so we don't have to worry about it.
It's super casual now.
And
like,
I knew to start shutting off things that created background noise, because that was contributing to it.
Yeah, he just knew exactly what to do to help me out of my hallucinations, and it's as simple as, like, what are we having for dinner? You know, it's like a non-thing today.
Right. Well, I mean, I know I hear things from time to time.
He has
when I
borderline.
I get hallucinations too. And I know when I'm hearing music and stuff like that, if there's a fan running, it definitely adds to volume of that, and it adds another layer of sound, which makes it indistinguishable. So but there can be a lot of struggles depending on what mood or phase somebody's in. But for the most part, it's kind of like looking after somebody. You got to be real careful about a lot of stuff. It can be easy to overdo it. Yeah, I'm not really sure what more to say about it.
Well, we could talk about, like, the visits. You couldn't visit me during my second hospitalization because I was hospitalized the day before the COVID restrictions.
Yeah.
Literally the day before the restrictions happened in Washington State. And so the visitations were a lot different that time. You only got to see me, I think, once.
Yeah, did I get to see you at all?
You saw me once with my mom, and then it happened so fast. It was like you got to visit me once, and then all of a sudden we were all having to wear masks in the hospital, and everyone was learning about this stuff. So none of us in the inpatients knew what was going on.
That's right.
The nurses were joking about social distancing, and I was like, what's that? And they looked at me like, are you crazy? I'm like, well, I'm in here, so
that's right.
There's no way I could have known.
Yeah, no, that one was interesting, but it was some of them after it started getting frustrating and scary because you weren't always honest about what was going on mentally, and so out of nowhere it would be like, I need to go to a hospital, and you'd be like complaining about, you would make a complaint that looking back I could see, oh, you were telling me, but like you weren't coming out and saying like, oh, I'm delusional or things like that. It was just, I'm stressed, I don't like this.
That sounds like me.
And so coaxing like the truth out was difficult at that point. So it was always like,
I still do that. Like the other day when I was hallucinating, I didn't want to tell him, but like I just came into the next room and I was like, are you playing music? And he was like, no. And I just walked away because I didn't want to admit. I always downplay like everything until it's an emergency.
Yeah, so it's really important to know what's going on mentally with a partner that you have to care for like that, and understand they might not be honest. Maybe I don't think it's malicious. It's probably a lot of denial, but having those conversations can be tricky. We know now that I've got a caregiver mode I go into, which gives me leeway to say and ask and do things that might, I don't want to say be unacceptable in regular circumstances, but that are like, hey, I'm doing caregiver now. Like, is this okay?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this?
It would be weird if a boyfriend were to do these things, but as a caregiver, it's necessary.
That might seem pushy or like over the line a bit with like, do this, do that, do this, right? That
getting
sort of
me
thing.
Out of situations,
right?
Like
right.
having to pull me out of the room when I'm about to explode in a panic.
You know, that, or like, have you been taking your meds, going through and counting the meds and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, just stuff like that maybe seem pushy or like maybe controlling, but like, and even in conversations where like, I've had to badger from time to time to get information about what's going on mentally and with the medications and stuff. And, you know, we've developed a language where like, we know when I'm doing caregiver stuff, it's like, hey, I'm doing my job. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do.
It's literally a job.
And then sometimes I hear, well, it's not needed right now, or it's too much. And it's like, okay, we're not necessary. All right, I'm backing out, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it is necessary. It can be it can just be stressful. It can be scary at times, but you've gotten a lot better. We're not in I'm not constantly like, you know, catching one dish as it falls and then grabbing the cup with my foot before it falls down and then diving over here. You know what I mean? Like trying to keep one fire after another from starting a blaze anymore. Now it's pretty mellow, but there were times when like there was a lot going on and I was not engaging in any kind of self-care, and I only had one person in my life outside the relationship I talked to, and that's not enough for support, and it's not fair for that one person either.
Yeah.
So it's like today I've got a lot of men in my life who I can talk to, and I'm friends with a couple of girls too, which is new for me.
Yeah, I like them. They're great.
But I have multiple people in my life I can go to, and I can vent if I need to, and I can talk and really kind of take some of the load off of myself.
And that just goes to show, I think self-care as a caregiver is super neglected. A lot of times when people will ask me about, you know, helping their loved ones through situations like mine, I try to impress upon people that self-care has to come first. And so many people are like, I don't have time, I can't, they have to come first. But, you know, if he's not taking care of himself, then neither of us is getting the care we need, basically. So it's not, I'm not trying to be selfish as in like, take care of yourself so you can take care of me. But your health is first and foremost your priority, and I should probably come after your own well-being.
Well, that's in any relationship. But
any relationship.
It can be hard to see as a caregiver. The other thing that I was just going to say was...
Oops.
Shoot.
Self-care?
It was along those lines. At times I felt like I wasn't allowed to have stress or break down or need help myself because I had to be the rock in the relationship.
Yeah.
So like I can't come forward with my stress, or I can't complain about this. Like I have to, I'm keeping her afloat in this relationship afloat. And if I start giving into my stress and need support myself, this whole thing's going to collapse. And that's definitely not a healthy mode to get into.
A lot of pressure.
Well, it's not healthy to get into either, because it's like you can end up burnt out that way.
Well, not to mention you have mental illnesses too, so... No, but you kind of do. You've struggled with your... No, you
I'm
do.
Kidding.
Oh, no, he does. Believe me, he does. So, you know, we have like 2 mentally ill people in one relationship, and when his mental illnesses flare up, I'm not always available to help him the way he helps me. And it can be, I just feel like you do so much for me, and I have this like block in me that can't reciprocate as much as you do for me, and it bothers me.
Well, you do other things. I love you. I care about you. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But like the point is though, like if you are caring for somebody, you need to take care of yourself, and you need to assess whether or not the person actually wants to get better.
Right.
Like if you were the kind of person who were like, no, like battling between whether or not you wanted to take your meds, I probably wouldn't stick around if you were going on and off your meds, because that would be a sign that you weren't really... To me, if you're someone that needs medication because it keeps you stable, you should probably take your medication the way your doctor tells you. And like making sure a partner is serious about wanting to get better, like that's important too, because there are people out there that don't necessarily want to get better, that feel like maybe there's something being suppressed or held back because of the meds, right? Or they don't feel the way they want to. If you don't feel the way you want to on your meds, talk to your doctor. Don't just stop taking your medication.
It's a really tricky thing that, you know, I've definitely not wanted to be on meds a lot of times, gone off my meds many, many times, been the person that didn't want to work on myself, and I lost a lot of people in my life. And some of that is very fair, that I wasn't working on myself, and then people couldn't, I don't want to say handle me, but people couldn't be in my life anymore for their own well-being. And I think that's fair. You know, I wasn't able to be in relationships.
Sure. But yeah, so it's just important to assess whether or not somebody's serious. If they mean business and they're trying, make sure you have a support system. Make sure you have an open line of communication with the person that you can because I don't know what everyone's relationship is like. You know, you need, if you're trying to care for somebody with mental illness, you need to have the ability to like count meds, right? You need to have the ability to say, hey, your behavior is a little ... Or I've noticed a pattern where when this happens, and then ultimately you end up in the hospital. Do we need to take a look at that? Is everything okay? Little things like that.
Damage control.
Well, just checking in. Like, you need to have permission to have those conversations in the first place, and not everybody is necessarily going to be open to having those conversations. And so, yeah.
You've come a long way as a caregiver. You pretty much got it down to a science by now.
Well, my hands are they're off of a lot more. They used to be on everything out of fear.
Well, and hey, like, speaking of that fear, so our first few hospitalizations together were pretty scary, but I just want to say by the fourth one, it was no big deal. I remember I called him and I was like, hey, I know you're at work, but I'm going to the hospital. He was like, okay, do you have a ride? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, cool. See you in a week.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. And it was the same case with the respite, the crisis care. I basically just let him know. And he was like, I kind of saw this coming.
Yep.
I was going to suggest that, like, kudos to you for figuring that out on your own. And it was late. It was like 9 p.m. and he was working graveyard. So my friend took me and we just kept in contact. So
yep.
It's normal in our relationship for these things to happen. And I think it's normal in a lot of relationships with disability, whether it's psychiatric or physical, to have what might seem like a crisis to people on the outside actually just be daily life to us. Because this is just part of the deal. Like, this is what I've lived with my whole life, and this is what he's learned to help me live with.
Well, it's become manageable.
Yeah, and it's a lot better today. I honestly wouldn't be as well as I am without him. I think it's no, like, secret or surprise that when he came into my life, I got stable. I've never been stable until we got together, partly because the people who cared for me in the past didn't care for me. They abused me.
Well, ultimately, in a relationship, if one person's a caregiver and one needs care, if things become unmanageable, you need to make a decision to change something. Okay, and then you need to follow through with that decision. Talk to people if you need to about it, but like, if things become unmanageable, something needs to change. You can't just keep doing the same thing and getting the same results all the time. That's just insane.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I check things today. First step, are things unmanageable? Maybe they are. Okay, what can I change? Let's take a look. Let's what can I change? What can't I change? Okay, of the things I can change, what hurts less people or causes less stress or whatever, right? And then if I can change something, if we can change something, we will, and then we just follow through. You have to make decisions, and early on I just get stuck in one mode, and it was all fear. So.
And now we've gotten so much better at our communication, which honestly took years for us. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just that we both communicate in very different styles. And for like 4 years, we'd say the exact same thing to each other in different ways. And like butt heads, not realizing we were agreeing on everything. But we figured out each other's communication styles. At least I think we have. And so our conversations...
We've gotten a lot better.
We understand each other finally. We're speaking the same language, but that was such a dedicated effort for us.
That was so crazy. That was very crazy. You don't even know.
So yeah, so I guess, I don't know, looking forward, what am I trying to say? Like, I don't know. I think maybe hospitalizations are just part of my life. Like, I always think this will be the last one, and then it's not. And I kind of don't want to rule out that this will never happen again. It'll probably happen again. So, we've kind of got this down to a science, like I said. But, like, I don't know, what would you have to say for anyone who might be new to caregiving or in their first rodeo with hospitalizations, caring for a loved one?
Stress management.
Self-care
and stress management. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. That's about it. If the person the person has the clarity of the thought to take medication and to function as a basic person, then there need to be conversations during the hospitalization about what kind of stabilization plan there is.
Coming out of the hospital?
Coming out of the hospital. And then what I did was I asked that we could set guidelines for behaviors to watch out for. And it was kind of like, listen, you need, after the second one, it was like, listen, there's some things you have to take care of on your own. And as long as I see you taking care of those things, we're good. But I have permission to like poke into that every now and then if I don't see you doing it, to make sure that like that's happening. Ultimately, it just comes down to like, how can you manage the stress? Can you manage the situation?
I think you've done a wonderful job. Okay. Well,
this is my smile.
Well, I suppose that's it for this week's video. This is kind of a special video. It's my first video in a while, and I just want to kind of...
A very special video.
I just want to kind of like reassess my channel here. So up until this point, I've been putting out weekly videos every Thursday/Friday. And I think I will still upload on Thursdays/Fridays, but maybe not as consistently. I'm not gonna hold myself to a 1 video a week standard anymore, just because things have been really crazy and I still am easing back into this. I'm also just going through some life changes. We're getting married soon, relatively soon. I just got a first job. Like I haven't worked in a really long time because I've been on the disability benefits for like 9 years. So this is my first real job in a very long time. And that has been a huge adjustment. Lots of life changes, lots of just hectic craziness. So Thursdays/Fridays are still a thing, but maybe not every week, at least for a while. I also have merch. Some pretty cool stuff out there. If you want to check that out, there should be ads running under this video. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook under the handle Psychotic in Seattle. I really don't know what else to say because it's been a while since I've made a video. So I guess I'll just see you guys in the next one, and let me know in the comments if you'd like John to reappear in a video and what you'd like him to talk about. That's it for today. Thank you guys. Bye. So close